Assalamu alaikum. What do you do if your parents or parent believe in arranged marriage? Or an arranged, how do you be respectful and tell them you don't want an arranged marriage? What would make sense, inshallah? Makes sense for me. I'm just saying it makes sense for me.
That's the jawab.
Okay, I should do the jawab as well. This is a twofold answer. There's no ikrah when it comes to marriage. There's no and being forced to marry someone, right? So that's one side. And then the other side is you want to, like you said, potentially say no in a respectful manner. So you kind of got the point there. But also, you want to look at it from a different perspective, in the sense that parents do have a lifetime of experience, and that experience can potentially be useful, right? That experience can potentially be useful. And Allahu A'lam, I feel like a lot of youngsters, they want to kind of put their parents' ideas on the side and not even allow them to articulate and tell them what they feel and how they're thinking about the situation. So I think at least giving them an opportunity to tell you why they feel this marriage is good or why they feel this marriage potentially is bad for you, at least give them the opportunity to tell you and take it in. I think a lot of times we don't reflect on what the person is trying to tell us. We have our own preconceived notions and our ideas, and that's what's going to happen regardless. We're stubborn, right? But if you really take in the advice, you sit with yourself, you think about it, and look at the different angles, is it potentially true what they're saying, right? Sometimes the case will come, Sheikh, and the parent will say, that family, I just can't get along. It's a parent decision, right? It's from the parent's side. I can't really get along with that family. Again, the parent's not getting married, but would you want your parent to be in a situation where they're just going to cause issues? Right? Is that something that you're willing to put up with? Right? So you got to look at it from all those, different angles, but the most important thing is to be respectful. It's to be respectful to these two people that were one of the reasons after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you're alive in this world. So you always want to give them the utmost of respect. And the way you talk to them, and the way you speak to them, and into the way you address them, Allah ta'ala. And that was such a PC answer, but inshallah, I tried my best. You want to add anything to it? Okay. I read this already. Okay, this is kind of similar to the last one, but I guess they're going to sleep for a second. Can you decline a brother's salam if he is using it as an excuse to flirt?
Can you decline a brother's salam if it's an excuse to flirt? So, from one aspect, I would say no. Return the salams and keep moving, or advise him, or remind him. You can say alaikum salam, and that's it. So obviously, according to what you're saying, if he's trying to flirt, the moment you say wa alaikum salam, it's now his move, right? It's now his move. If you're playing tennis, you hit it to me, I hit it to you, now I asked to what? So therefore, you gave your salams, khalas, done. No matter what he's going to say on his next move, I'm finished. So how do you know he's trying to flirt? You may know because you know of him, or you've seen him, or your stomach is telling you his coordinates. Let's end the discussion. Alaikum salam. Done. So if you don't give him the salams, what if he wasn't trying to flirt? What if he was just, that's how he talked? Then what? You failed to fulfill your Islamic obligation. Second way of looking at it is if you know the brother is trying to flirt, or you know he's a flirtatious guy, you know he's a little loose, then obviously if he continues to flirt with women like this again and again in public, then that's fisk. And a fasiq, mu'lin fisqahu, you don't necessarily have to give him the salams back, especially if it's a fitna that's going to come afterwards. But in this situation, do not rush and you don't know what's in that person's heart, you don't know what's in his mind. Alaykum as-salam. That's the same. There's nothing to us. Allah Ta'ala.
Okay, how to help guide family members battling their nafs, substance abuse. Also, anything you tell them goes through one ear and out the other. We have something similar to that. I did forget to mention regarding this question. ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. Right. So those two things are really important, right? To call them to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with wisdom and doing it in a way that's good as well, right? And sound and good advice. Those things are really important. The way you present the advice could be just as important as the advice itself at times. So being really wise in the way we approach someone that we're trying to advise. And the timings and things of that sort. How can a sister be obedient to her husband with not listening to her?
You're getting a body camera out there. You're going to have a Sunyana blast down here. You obeying your husband is your Islamic obligation. And the general rule is nothing should come between you and your Islamic obligation. As we said last night, spiritual professionalism. I have to listen whether it's my job. Are you doing your job? I don't know, but this is my job. All right. Also, oftentimes in marriages, husbands and wives accuse the spouse of not listening, and it's not actually true. A person may listen or be listening, but they don't give the response that you want, when you want, how you want. But I am listening and I did hear you. But if I don't jump up and wear my emotions on my skin, you're not listening to me. No, that's not true. So in a marriage, it's very important to take it easy, slow down. Don't be in a rush. Don't be so impulsive. And never put the worst interpretation on the actions of your spouse. This is a very common illness in marriages. Your spouse does something or doesn't, and you put the worst possible interpretation. Maybe she did hear me. Maybe. You're not listening. No, slow down, relax. And force the spouse to prove that you're just not listening to you. They don't care. But you can't necessarily just judge people that quickly, that simply like that. So don't forget that haste is from shaitan. إِنَّ فِيكَ خَصْلَتَيْنِ يُحِبُّهُمُ اللَّهُ الْحِلْمُ وَالْأَنَاتِ. The Prophet ﷺ, he said to that Sahabi, he says, you have two things, two practices, two talents, two things, khaslatay, two qualities that Allah loves. Al-hilmu, you're forbearant, you're tolerant, you're clement. Wal-anatu, and you're patient. People don't do what they're supposed to do concerning you. You don't always strike back and vengeful and be resentful. You have hilm, you have thick skin. And most importantly, you're patient. You don't rush to judge or to conclude or to make it. Slow down. Secondly, if your husband actually isn't listening to you, or he's not listening to you enough, or he's not listening to you how you want to need him to listen to, then maybe you should change your frequency, like a radio. You could say the exact same thing to your husband at a different time, in a different way, and he'll listen. So for argument's sake, right now he's stressed out, or he's tired. I just did double shifts at work, at the airport. I'm standing on my feet all day to pay the bills. And the moment I step in the house, you're nagging and blah. Let him eat some food, take a shower, take off his work clothes, and then you find the right time to talk to him and to speak to him. Oftentimes, women, they do not pick the right time to talk. Or they pick the wrong words, use inflammatory words. You know it's going to be a fitna at the moment you say this word. And then, oh, you don't listen to me, you start an argument. No, you started the argument. Or you picked a horrible time. So pick the right time, pick the right usloob, and perhaps, just perhaps, you'll find your husband's thumb screw, the chink in his armor. Right now, he can't say no. Right now, he can't say, oh, I'm tired. You pick the right time, you corner him. Now, you got to give me an answer. So you have to use hikmah. You have to use wisdom in a marriage. Being married, staying married is not easy. It takes work. It takes hard work. And getting divorced is easy and simple. That's the easy way out. Making it last, navigating through the problems, weathering the storm, it takes patience and it takes hikmah. Everything that you feel you can't say, you can't be too demanding, etc. You have to slow down. For argument's sake, you pick the right time,